Hey Outlaws, welcome back to, I guess, Outlaw Sword News. And equipped with additional training. I was on this side, maybe. Maybe it was on that side. Okay, so, pretty interesting sword video sent to me by my friend Ken. Thank you, Ken. He gets upset when I don't say thank you to him. So, a sword, a 2,300-year-old sword was found. Now, it was a few years ago. Obviously, when they find grave sites, they don't want to announce it, or they try to keep it as hush-hush as possible. That way, grave robbers and others don't come over and start taking all those relics that they just want to put in a museum. It belongs in a museum. Thank you, Indiana Jones. Hopefully, people got that reference. But anyways, a 2,300-year-old sword. That's freaking old, man. That's like way back in the BC era. Okay, so main purpose of this is it was brought to us by Smithsonian Magazine, is they unearthed a 2,300-year-old sword. Interesting enough, that was decorated with two small swastikas in a Celtic necropolis. Now, if you're an American, European, especially in the modern day, you know that the mere mention of a swastika gets like, oh my god, oh, the National Socialists are coming back. Oh no, quick. It's basically been like turned into like the boogie. The National Socialist Party has been turned into like the boogeyman for like modern day Western culture and whatnot, to the point of insanity, that people have like no affiliation or not even similar ideas or thoughts of that party. All of a sudden are called that out in modern day political interactions. Reminds me of a little book of everyone I don't like is a National Socialist, a children's guide to online political discussion. Oh, that's funny. Anyways, okay. So, it was found in France. The site features more than 100 graves filled with ancient metal artifacts, including bracelets, brooches, and two well-preserved swords. I mean, for 2,300 years old, that's pretty well preserved, I would say. Now, what's interesting is I believe this is the copper sheath. Has a lot of intricate details you can see, but you can also see the swastikas right there on those two little tabs. I think they said it was gems. Yeah, polished gems, which they don't look too great right now, but you could definitely see the swastikas on them. So let's discuss a little bit more about these swords. Then we'll talk a little bit about the history of the swastikas. I don't want to go too crazy into it because I'll probably get my channel banned by YouTube, because YouTube can't handle, like I said earlier, that conversation. Anyways, so 3 years ago, research, okay, I was right, excavated a vast Celtic necropolis in central France. It was filled with ancient metal artifacts, including two expertly crafted 2,300-year-old swords and their sheaths. Now, if you want to get a good look what this sword looked like, I'll scroll down here. There is it in its entirety as it was found. Not in great shape. There's obviously the hilt. There's some rings where it was attached to the person's belt, could hang, and there's some kind of clip. Let me take over here real quick, and I'll show you this image, and I'll put the link in there. That's what the sword most likely looked like before it was really, well, back when it's in better shape than it is now. This one still is not quite complete, but you can definitely see the green from the bronze, or copper. And then also the hilt, you can see the pommel back there, a very interesting design, circular design that kind of like sticks out like two antennae. And then you can see this very, very similar design on this sword as well. Again, those two little beads. That's a very looks like a very, very common type of design for that time period. Now, before we go too much further, you might kind of wondering like who were the Celts. Now, not exactly a history channel, but I do like talking to news. So let's talk a little about history as well. Again, I kind of like to branch out intellectually as well. So let's touch a little bit more about the Celts, and I will read some things for you once it loads here for me. Oh no. Okay, so generally when people think of Celts, they think of like just, a bunch of Irish, maybe Scottish individuals, very, very top northern part of Europe, super pale, and like that old movie King Arthur, they're the people that paint themselves blue, and they want to attack, they think Boudica, but the Celts actually, like societies, were spread all throughout different parts of Europe. Specifically right here, a little information is the Celts belong to the family of Indo-Europeans who appeared in Europe and Asia in the Copper Age, basically 5th to 4th millennia BC. This group of people shared common linguistics, societal, religious, again, like the swords look very similar, societal, religious, and cultural features, developed the first metal tools, introduced the horse and the wheeled vehicle. Then how the Celts appeared remains difficult to determine with certainty and is still a matter of debate among historians, at least that I know of. They are generally accepted as being the direct ancestors of the megalithic and urnfield civilizations of the Middle and Late Bronze Age, basically like also the people that built Stonehenge. Respectively, characterized by the funerary practices of the tumulus, which consisted in interring the dead in burial mounds, and of incineration, which consisted in cremating the deceased and placing their ashes in pots buried in flat cemeteries. Okay, let's take a look at the map over here. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Pretty much just want to give you guys a visual example and map showing where exactly the Celts were, the Celtic world. So again, like I said earlier, generally people think of the Celts like up here in northern Scotland, also over in Ireland as well. But they're spread throughout England, Wales, France, parts of Germany, other parts of European countries, right on the top there of Italy. Okay, up and around, again, northern sections of Greece. And then I believe there's a Black Sea right around this area as well. Also down in and around Spain. So the Celts were spread throughout all over the place. Hence why this burial mound that was found over here in France had so many fantastic examples of the Celts and their type of society. So let's go back to that. Okay, so stretching across 7,000 square feet, the necropolis, basically a large, burial area. And you can see the map right here. They're not really in good order. In fact, they're kind of spread all over the place and not really organized well. Stretched across 7,000 square feet, the necropolis contained more than 100 graves, including a single cremation burial. Now, remember we read earlier about Celts would cremate dead loved ones' remains as well. Sometimes, like I said, burying, and then other times cremating. What's interesting enough, though, as well, is some of these were found with bronze bracelets. So no skeletons remained, as they likely disintegrated in the area's acidic soil. And that's pretty damn hardcore, where bones would literally melt in acidic soil, but the bronze swords would not. I do believe bronze and copper is resistant to acid. That's probably why they survive longer. But then you saw like the metal parts, like the iron parts, definitely started to wear out. The researchers, however, did find metal grave goods in roughly half the burials, hence like we showed earlier with the sword. Some of the graves held copper alloy bracelets, what I was talking about. Now, the graves you can see here that are found with the copper alloy bracelets had black markings on them. And as you're looking at them, they don't seem to be in any type of sensible order. Some seem to be on top of or underneath pre-existing graves, or like mixed in with other graves as well. Kind of like this area was just used to bury people, but no one was really keeping that good of track of where everyone was located. So must have had no headstones, no real markers or anything, just buried. Okay, so some of the graves held copper alloy bracelets. They don't really show why or explain why, including one that was engraved with circular shapes. The researchers also found 18 brooches made from copper alloy and iron. One such brooch adorned with a polished gemstone and a silver leaf dated back to the 4th or early 3rd century BC. Another brooch was decorated with ocelli, or eye-shaped symbols, which were fashionable among Celtic craftsmen in the 5th and 4th century BC. Let's take a look here. However, the most significant discoveries were 2 swords, right here, both protected inside copper alloy sheaths. One was discovered with rings, as you can see right here, that would have allowed it to be worn around the waist. We've seen examples of that if you follow any type of like historical reenactment groups, or probably seen a couple of movies as well, maybe TV shows. Shreds of fabric, likely from the garments that the human was buried with, still clung to his back. Per the announcement, research think it was made during the 4th century BC. The other sword, which is right, because that's one sword, yep. And then here's this one. So this is a short sword. This one's obviously a bit longer. The other sword was shorter, and it had a pointed blade. X-ray scans, I don't know why that needed to say it had a pointed blade. This one looks like a pointy blade too. X-ray scans reveal a circle and crescent moon carved to the top of the blade, suggesting the weapon was also made in the 4th century BC. According to INRAMP, which is the society that is doing the digging, its sheath is adorned with several gems, at least 2 of which were carved swastikas. Blah, 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 blah. We talked a little about the National Socialist Party. Swastikas were common in the ancient Mediterranean. Per Smithsonian, the late 19th century archaeologist Heinrich Schliemann discovered at least 1,800 swastikas on artifacts in present-day Turkey. During the late 5th century BC, the design was adopted by the Celts living in mainland Europe, as George told Life Science. The researcher doesn't know the meaning of the Celt scientist symbol. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the swastikas. So many societies have used a swastika. If you look at this right here, it is very familiar. Now, this one's a little bit different than the one that used by National Socialist Party and others as well. India. I remember one time we were working for a security firm, and we had a camera that would help keep track of and monitor the Indian data collection center. And the Indians had the swastika painted on their particular IT, heck is it called? Server, basically. And I remember one of my workers was like, what is that? Look at that, dear, look. I'm like, yeah, that's part of their Hinduist beliefs. The swastika. And I sat down there and we typed in a YouTube video and you listened to it and you learned a little bit about something about your world and the swastika beyond what modern day news outlets will let you hear. Okay, so swastika has been around everywhere. This picture right here is kind of hard to see, but you can look it up online. I definitely recommend listening to some documentaries about the swastika's history, its meaning. Generally speaking, cycle of life, sun, power. I don't really think it's a fertility symbol. I think that's different ones, but it's all sorts of different places. Poland, the Navajo had it, Tibetans, Peru, Hittites, Armenians, Italians, Iranians, Koreans, Anglo-Saxons. There also was, I have right here in front of me, I don't want to get too close to the camera because, again, YouTube's stupid, but it's, boom, right here. It's a Japanese good luck charm, or like some kind of incantation charm that I found on one of my work sites, and I just kept it. I was talking to one of our crews who's Japanese, I believe, and she told me a lot about their beliefs, their use of the swastika as well. It's all called different things too. And just so we're all clear, like the National Socialist version of it, they're not really even calling a swastika anymore. They're trying to change the name to Hakenkreuz. So basically, the National Socialist Hakenkreuz is what they're trying to call it, to kind of get away and try to take that basically the abuse